You remember what you're doing?
Yeah. Welcome to Blue and Full Color, where we live life in high definition.
I'm in high definition today.
Yes, you are. Okay, I'm Jennifer Moss. I've got Dave Hawley and PJ McGuire with me today.
We're colorful all the way
Yes, we
around.
are.
To be between the chairs and the shirts.
Well, matter of fact, your legs and my shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
all
there you go. Turn them a
matching.
look. Yeah,
Yes,
the-
we're
yeah, there you go.
matchy-matchy.
So it's
Yeah, so our podcast studio is improving.
Big
we have
time.
had a small hiatus called Life and Running a Company in 2023. So you will see a gap in our episodes, but hey, we're back. We're gonna knock it out. So today we're talking about it. I mean, it's been stupid hot.
it has been hot.
Stupid hot. So I was stupid lucky to be out of town at a work conference in Ohio in the 80s and 70s. While you guys
And
were
that was
having
the hottest
triple
temperature of the year.
triple
105s,
digit, the 105s
exactly.
and the
Right.
108s. So came back to my flowers looking a little peaked, to say the least. Mind you, I have two very competent 12-year-olds who did a very good job. They only killed 4 containers.
And she has a lot of containers.
And I have a
Four is a pretty
buttload.
good number.
Yeah, no, you can't even tell the difference. Like I took them out and it's just like, we're good. Everything still looks great. So what do you do to maintain your containers in triple digits?
Well,
So
see,
that's what we're talking about.
And this is a good topic
It
because
is.
there are so many things out there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're supposed to do this and this and this and all that. And one of the big things that I hear is, well, I watered. Okay, great. When did you water? Oh, like 1 o'clock. Really?
In the heat of the day.
How did you do that? Oh, I just sprinkled on.
On top.
Oh my gosh. You know.
Did
Okay.
they work for us by chance? Were they a grower?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm twitching a little with the spritzy. You want to get Jennifer's
But
head
this
to
is
pop.
what you hear.
Do
You
some
know?
spritzy in front of Jennifer in the
And
middle of the summer.
especially as
I watered.
especially as
Put
young people
down
are
the
coming
hose and walk
Go
away.
especially as young people are coming into the industry or into this, hobby, if you
Yeah.
will. It's like, oh, when am I supposed to water? So this is going to be a good topic today.
Well,
So
I
this-
even do better than that because I had a lady that worked for us for many, many years who came to a party at my house in the middle of summer and went, your baskets look beautiful. Mine don't. And I asked her, how often do you fertilize? She goes, what? She
She clearly wasn't a grower.
She was not a grower, but
Okay.
but people don't understand that in the greenhouse, we fertilize almost every single time we water. Not every time because our head grower has some control over that, but almost
Well,
every single time we
there's
water.
actually
Yeah.
technically a light fertilizer every single time, but it's
Correct. And to be fair, it's
It's tailored.
engineered to be a
Correct.
continuous feed. So this is not the stuff you buy at Home Depot. This is engineered for
Correct.
professionals such as ourselves.
correct.
So you don't overstimulate the plant.
We do it for a living.
Correct. Right. Right.
So we're not saying get an injector system at your
Correct.
house and
Correct.
fertilize with commercial grade.
However,
well, I look
part of
at
today's discussion is
Yeah.
going to be how to keep them looking
How do you
pretty
do it?
throughout
How
the
do you do
summer.
it?
Well, I will tell you, and I'm going to go back just a little bit for me. I tried basket gardening even for the farmer's market. I was trying to get tomatoes earlier than in the ground, right? In this country, you plant tomatoes whenever the hell you want to. You're not getting red tomatoes till July.
Right.
I was trying.
Length of day.
Correct. It's length of day.
Length of day.
And the heat 100%
Heat.
has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Tomatoes and peppers don't get happy until we get the heat.
They're a
So those
tropical
65-degree June days, the tomatoes are going.
Yep.
Sorry, I'll keep it PG.
The next episode you can go a little
Yeah,
wild.
right. So anyway, so I have really tried with containers, all different sizes, different times. What I learned with that is it's not worth it for the tomatoes, but I've tried all different size baskets. We sell baskets from 8-inch hanging basket all the way up to a whiskey barrel, which isn't a hanging, right?
Yeah.
But 16-inch. Every one of these, in my opinion, is exact same care instructions. You got to water in the morning and you got to water in the afternoon, twice a day minimum in this country. And I struggle. I water in the morning before I go to work, and I still will have wilty plants at the end of a 9-hour day or a 10-hour day. I still will come home to a couple baskets wilting. So that's 2 times a day, morning and afternoon. And and this is 10-inch, a 16, it doesn't really matter the size.
No.
The bigger the size, the more plants, the more it's sucking water out of the soil.
And
So
you have everything on drip, right?
absolutely
Yeah.
not.
No?
No. Well,
Wow.
My house was never
That's
engineered.
surprising
Well,
to
yeah,
me
I know.
too.
My house was never engineered for baskets. When I designed my system, I didn't have money for hanging baskets. I didn't work at Moss Greenhouses yet. Right?
Not that we pay boatloads of money, just they
Might have a little juice with flowers if you work there. That's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm
Baskets are a new thing for me. So I did not, and baskets have to be irrigated separately.
Yes, they
We're
do.
going through this at Jennifer's house right
Yep.
now because what else do you water in your yard twice a day? The answer is nothing. You're not watering
Nothing.
lawn twice a day. You're not
You're
watering.
not even watering your trees every day.
Correct.
That's not what you want
In
to
fact,
do.
the drip system in my house runs 3 days a week, no matter how hot it is. That's the drip system. Baskets got to run twice a day. So in order to water baskets in my house, I'm going to have to rewire, replumb, and run an entire new, just like we're doing in your house.
Yeah.
A brand new valve that's not half lawn and half baskets, because the only way to keep baskets alive in our climate, water-wise, irrigation, twice a day. It has to be done. And it's got to be
Well, and
morning
I-
and afternoon, in
and
my
I
opinion.
am once a day.
Once a day. Are you really?
But-
And it hangs in there.
Okay, so I want to cover the things I've said before in previous episodes so that I make sure that if we're going to hack it apart, we do it as a group. It's fine. You can poke holes in me. That's completely acceptable. So I water in the morning heavy in the
Right.
morning.
Right.
And I'll walk them at night. And
If you got a light basket, you'll touch up.
If I see, like, because I walked through my vegetable garden the other day and my zucchini were going,
Right.
and so are the peppers, so are the tomatillos. And I was like, the girls did not water heavy enough today. Granted, we were trying to rush to get out the door, totally on mom. So I went through and it was about 6, 7 p.m. I watered then. It's not the heat of the day.
Right.
Okay, why do you water in the morning? Let's cover that first.
Well, and see, when people water, if I don't water leaves, as general practice, I do not get plant foliage wet. I don't care what time of day it is. I water soil.
Yes.
So I stick my little hose wand through the canopy of a basket and get down to the soil, because as a grower, I don't believe wetting foliage is going to help you. Whether it's morning or afternoon, you're just setting yourself up
You're
for
setting
issues.
yourself up
But
for
try
failure.
this.
And when you water,
not going to hurt the plant if the sun's not on it.
Right.
We do need to cover that, but you're also going to prevent other problems. The Dave's
burn,
listing. Yep,
the-
exactly.
And some plants are more susceptible than others, right? People don't realize roses. You can burn rose leaves watering them in the middle of the day, right?
Yeah.
And that's a hardy plant. You can't kill a rose, but you can burn leaves
Yes, you
black
can.
if you spritz
You
them
can.
in the middle of the day.
How that works for the listeners and the people watching on YouTube, if it's the heat of the day and you get water on a leaf, that water then acts as a magnifying glass with that sun into the cells of that leaf, and it creates sun scalding and sunburning and damage to the plant.
And lots of other issues. You got fungus issues when you get canopies or foliage
Aesthetically,
wet.
it's going to look like crap.
Botrytis, right? All of the bad things that happen to plants happen because of excess moisture. So watering leaves, watering flowers, bad form in general. Right.
Now,
that's my opinion.
If the plant is so big, you can't get to the soil visually. You kind of figure out what's going to work for your containers, your situation.
Agreed.
Well,
I typically end up with because I hand water. I end up with a hole in my canopy where I stick my nozzle every day.
Every day.
But to be fair, it's my little. I mean, I just go right to the same spot. It works.
When the company comes over, just turn it over.
Yes, hide your watering hole.
Wiggle.
and I think we've got two different conversations kind of going too. So we're talking containers and baskets, but in general, when you're watering during the day,
period,
any type of
true
landscape that you've put in, okay. And it's not to say that you can't water plants on the leaves; they have to be established pretty well,
yes,
to be able to do that. But if you've got a young plant that you've just bought and you are putting it in the ground and you're watering the leaves at 95, 97 degrees, you're going to burn it.
Or you're setting yourself up for
failure.
issues. Exactly right.
Yeah.
You're not helping yourself. You're exactly right. And again, like we said, some things are more susceptible than others. There are certain flowers we sell, you could water all day long in the sun and they wouldn't care.
No.
But some, I said some.
It's a short list.
Yeah, it is a short
list.
list.
There is some.
Yes.
We just are never going to give you that advice.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's bad. It's bad.
You're just going to waste your money.
It's exactly right. It's bad
Because
habits.
you'll pick the 5 really, really pretty plants that does not work with.
I think there's something else we should talk about for irrigation, right? And that is shade versus sun, right?
Oh,
we have a lot of begonia baskets.
I should have probably qualified that
Right.
the containers that died were shade containers at my house.
Although you say shade, they just get hammered in the afternoon. Your front porch is like a
and
magnifying
they were
glass.
only in my front porch. My back patio is fine.
She's got shade on her. Interesting.
I have a
how shade works.
west-facing front.
A west-facing house,
Yeah.
and she puts her shade. So the afternoon, so from 3 to 7, her front porch is on fire.
Right.
And sun doesn't work there because I don't get enough sun.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So guys, if you have one of these stupid west-facing houses, sorry, I love my I love my neighborhood. I love my lot. I don't love my house. It's okay. I need to qualify that. If you have one of these crazy west-facing places that you just can't really figure out what to work there, I am working on it. Just be patient with me. Ask questions on our Facebook Live. I am trying.
Because location is a big deal, right? So one of the things that talk about hanging baskets, right? We grow early season. We call them early spring baskets around here, and they are alyssum and they're pansies and they're violas. They're gorgeous. We start selling them in March when it's freezing cold around here,
And they
go
fine.
straight outside and hang, and they're gorgeous.
And they're pretty.
And
when
they're-
it gets hot,
but let's qualify. It's because they've been acclimated.
Yes.
That too.
We've grown
Because
up
we-
if
with
we
that.
take
cold
them out
tone
of the
our plants.
greenhouse,
Yes.
which we don't do, they're acclimated to our weather. So
Absolutely.
That's
right.
Absolutely.
But see, I'm able to take those shade plants that go out from March and April and part of May, and when it gets hot, I just take those pansies and violas and I put them in the shade.
That's actually how you get them to go.
Yep.
Because those early spring baskets, people are chomping at the bit. They've got spring fever.
Yes.
It's cold. They're like, oh my God.
I want to see something
Easter's
pretty.
here, and it's 40 freaking degrees and snowed 2 days ago. They're grumpy. And so you want stuff that's pretty. And so we actually are changing our basket tag. I saw the draft. I can't wait to show you guys. It's going to say early spring sun, summer shade.
Very smart.
And it's split
Very
down the
smart.
middle. So the tag will
Good.
actually be half yellow, half blue.
That's beautiful.
That way.
Yeah,
your
because I
team-
questioned this a
your
couple years
team-
ago.
Your team. So I've had them redo the entire tag.
That's cool.
So that we're helping set you guys up for success.
The point of this little side trip was I feel like hanging baskets are a lot like houseplants in that you can move them around your space and
Right.
find some place they get
Right.
happy.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
I hardcore question your begonias on the front porch. They work great. Your begonias look when your kids water them, they look fine.
Oh
But
shit!
you know what I'm saying? You found the space that worked for
Yep.
those plants. You know what I mean?
I brought home a moss ball. Those things are stupid expensive. Okay, I'm just gonna pick a scab. These things cost like $400 freaking dollars. They're stupid expensive. There was an extra, so I was like,
Gorgeous.
and it
this
was
year.
beautiful.
Gorgeous.
I hang it up, and it's like like 70s, 80s. This is the end of June. We didn't get hot very fast.
No, we didn't.
Then July just shows up and bitch slaps us and gets really hot, and I just watch it go. And it's about when I'm leaving for Columbus for 8 days, and I'm like, oh, well, this will be
Already
interesting.
on
I'll
the
come-
decline.
Yeah, I knew without question what was going to happen, and I got back and was like, that's crispy, like. And now it's it's done. It's actually in a pile by all the fallen begonias, ready to go into the garbage when I bring the trash can around the house. So that's what happens. So if anybody's struggling and beating themselves up, we have a saying here at the greenhouse: "She who kills the most plants wins." So I do it too.
We kill a lot of plants.
We kill
Just
a
in
lot of
case you were
plants.
wondering here, we're professionals. We do this for a living.
We-
How many decades of experiences? I mean, honestly, growing things, we're over 100 years right here.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
Right?
Oh,
well
yeah.
over
Easy.
100 years.
Easy.
We kill a lot of stuff. I mean,
It's
a
practice.
lot of stuff. In
Well,
fact,
it's-
your dad said one time, if you're not killing stuff, you're not trying hard enough.
No,
Like that was legit his quote. Like, okay, if you haven't killed anything, go work harder.
yeah,
I need to see
try
some
harder.
death. True story.
Well, and God, it just happens. And you're going to have 1 year you nail it. And the next year that just totally shits the bed. And you're like, what happened? I was good at this last year. Or you get that like chip on your shoulder and I'm like, oh, I'm doing so great with tomatoes. I'm doing, and then you just have a year of just absolute garbage or and then little to your knowledge, the neighbor sprayed on a windy day and everything died. And you're just like, what's happening to the garden? Like, so there's so many things that can happen.
Right.
All right, so let's go
Right.
into
I was
fertilization.
going to say, yep, because we got
So
one
what
part of this.
What I tell people on Facebook Live, just to make it simple, because I am a stupid busy person. We were just talking before we came on camera that I have to reintroduce myself to my friends because
you haven't seen them in a few months.
It's been a while, so I'm getting there slowly. But we're just really busy people. So when I pay the mortgage, I fertilize with 30-day granular time release. What I do.
Very smart. So the mortgage is your reminder.
Yeah, that's my
So-
reminder.
Very smart.
Okay, so that's how you fertilize all your plants, or just your baskets, or your containers?
All my containers.
Oh,
Yep,
that's
containers.
interesting because
Yeah.
I do it entirely different. Yeah, and I'm sure you do it
Yeah,
differently as well.
And
So
again,
it's-
a
There's
lot
a-
of opinions on this.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why
and
we're discussing.
I'm just trying to maintain them.
Right.
Well, they're looking a little peaked right now. A, heat. B, I need to get really friendly with a pair of scissors.
Right.
And then I need
That's
to
different
apply a water soluble.
And,
So,
and we want to get, but iron.
I'm doing lazy fertilization.
July is time for iron. So we'll talk about this.
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
you do yours? Because
so
I'm interested.
I'm water soluble. Soluble. Okay.
Right.
So I'll water in one day. The next water is fertilizer. Clear water, fertilizer.
Every other time. So you're fertilizing every other watering.
Yep.
And how do your
Here's the
baskets?
good
I bet
news.
your baskets look
they're
amazing.
fine.
Dave is watering, which in previous years he didn't have the access to do that
Yeah.
very well
So
in his gardening projects.
Yeah. So that's how I do it. Now, stuff that's in landscape, and I'm really going for landscape for the first time almost in my entire life. So, I've got a lot of learning to do, but for containers, that's how I do it.
Yeah, and let's qualify this. We are only talking about containers today. Period. There's nothing in the ground I would recommend fertilizing daily or or even monthly, like we're talking. So we're only talking containers,
right?
So you're doing it once a month. You're doing it every other watering,
right?
Well,
right?
My lazy girl way is once a month if nothing's going
If
wrong
it's
and you're
looking
not
good.
doing anything.
Interesting. I have struggled over the years with keeping blooms on petunias, and I personally believe, well, there's two issues. One, most of the stuff we grow
variety selection too.
Well, and most of the stuff we grow does not like getting going to wilt. Right. It just doesn't. Like you can bring it back, but you can almost look at your plants getting grumpier and grumpier every time you come home, and they're literally laid over. So I'm pretty cautious on my petunias to not allow them to wilt. That's why I water twice a day, because I don't want to come home at 5:30 or get stuck in a little meeting and you roll home at 6:15 or something. And like, shit, I should have watered those at 4:00 kind of deal. Right.
Yeah.
I found that I struggle with that. Fertility wise though, I'm doing it weekly. So my weekend, right, one of my 2 weekend days, I will mix up water soluble fertilizer and apply. We also add a slow release fertilizer to our soil. So when the baskets go out, they have a little something to hold, right? Although our tag specifically says in July, you better start feeding, right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, in my experience in this country, middle of July, you better start adding iron to your fertilizer mix.
In
July
our part
is
of the
chlorotic
country-
time.
In our part of the country, you have to do that.
Even with our engineered soils, sometime in July, I starting to see yellow leaves.
I actually have, I was at a party in Columbus. Weird. You boys have been there. So, Jack's fertilizer company so that's owned by J.R. Peters. One of my buddies is the vice president of growth and development over there. He actually developed the Grow It app for ball horticulture a while back that they no longer use, and it's Mason Day. Well, I was telling him about our soil, and he's got a retail shelf-ready acid solution
with a little iron.
Help.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna bring it in next year.
Good.
We're gonna test it out. And by bringing it in, we're just gonna bring it in. You guys are gonna test it with us.
Well,
normally we try it before we bring it to market, but
it's going to work. I guarantee you it's going to work. I'll tell you why.
Work.
Acid, when you add acid to the water, you're doing it because you're trying to lower the pH of our high pH stuff, including our water and what happens in the soils. And as you lower that pH, it releases nutrients from the soil. So not only do you get the nitrogen or the whatever the fertility load of your product, it's helping release stuff that's already bound in the material.
Well, and let's talk about what gets chlorotic, right? So if you did a soil test on anything that's typically a petunia or calibrachoa, right? Calibrachoa is the million bells, the little tiny petunias. Okay. It's like two magnets that can't connect. There's iron in your soil, but it's not absorbable. So you need chelated iron so that it can be brought up. But by getting your pH to where it needs to be, it makes those nutrients bioavailable.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's exactly what PJ is saying. So it's like your system being able to absorb certain nutrients. Like humans are just plants with more complicated emotions. That's
sun, water. But same.
Yeah, same. So when a former employee who'd worked here for years comes to your house and you go, have you fertilized? I always tell people, they're like, my tomatoes are just looking really cruddy. I said, well, have you fed them? Fed? What? Like, they're supposed to feed me. It's like, yeah. And I get people that say they have a black thumb, and I was like, all right, do you have kids and pets? It's the same thing.
Yeah,
they
just feed them.
They need water, sun, food. Like, it's not complicated. But a lot of people forget about that. And the thing about Idaho is we're such an extreme climate.
Well, like you said, high pH locks iron up. There's so much iron in the desert soils that you would never need it. But over pH of 7, it locks so tight to the soil, plants can't get it.
Yeah,
so we have to keep applying. We did play with an iron fertilizer. Proven Winners had an iron soluble fertilizer that we used over a couple of years, and everybody that tried it liked it. Because you got to add iron to this fertility in our ground, right? Yeah. July, if you're on your game, middle of July, you start adding iron or change your fertilizer to something with iron, knowing it's coming. So if you can get ahead of it, you don't have to be corrective.
Yeah.
You can just be a maintenance, right? And his fertilizer is so important. We fertilize every time we water here at the greenhouse. So when you take it home and go weeks and weeks and weeks without wonder why it doesn't look so good.
We also need to legally say More does not solve it. Okay. Follow the label instruction.
Correct.
We are by law required to tell you follow the label instruction.
Well, listen, feeding plants is the same as feeding humans. We don't eat one giant meal a week and then go away. We eat small meals every day.
Because our stomach's only
That's
so
exactly,
big.
and you can only absorb
plants
so
are
much.
Not different. Okay.
And the reason she's telling you this is, one, you can hurt your plants, but you're wasting your money.
You're
literally pouring it down the drain.
Burn the living
Yeah, that too.
daylights out of them and toast them. So just be careful.
Yep.
And then also, if it says it's organic, there's a lot of things that are organic that are really, really toxic.
Yep. Could still burn, could still, organic
Tobacco.
doesn't mean not
Organic.
burnable.
Tobacco is organic. How many millions and millions of people have died because of tobacco?
It's just a plant.
Okay.
True. All right. So we talked about water. We talked a little bit of
We need to
fertility.
talk
We got
about
trimming.
scissors.
Yes.
Scissors.
Is my weak point.
Oh, so
For sure.
I'm learning this too. Okay, so if I'm just on lazy girl fertilization of time release granular fertilizer, just like an Osmocote, if I go get the scissors, because the petunias are looking a little peaked, so is my verbena because I haven't pinched it.
Right.
I
Needs
can't
deadhead.
just go take the scissors to it and expect it to just flush out. I have to give it a food source so that the plant can reestablish itself. And I've got to be a little, I mean, if you're not in triple digits and it's like nice 70, 80 degree weather, say it's, we have you buy your baskets in April, starting to get a little leggy by the end of May. Taking scissors to them when it's about 70, 80 and just having,
Perfect.
it's perfect then. We're in the heat of the battle. So you need to be a little bit more strategic about how you trim now, because the plant has stretched out, right? And so there's not a lot up by the root ball. And so you've got to be a little careful how you trim. Now, I'm not saying to put down the scissors and get scared. What I am saying is, instead of, so if this is the edge, the base of the plant, or kind of where my hand is, don't cut right up to the base. Give it a couple inches. Give it some room so it can flush out that, and then use that as the base to go out, right? And then get on a water-soluble fertilizer. Don't burn it. Follow the label instructions and start feeding. Give it a couple weeks. It'll flush back out. And if you know that it's going to be triple digits for a while, expect it to take a little longer, because the plant is experiencing the same stress as you out on the patio in the sun without any shade. You know, if it's boiling hot with no humidity, that plant is suffering just like you are.
Knew that was going to happen.
I
I
was
told
like,
him, I said, it's going to go off in the middle of the podcast. I'm sorry.
That's right. Alarms. God. Wait for the next episode. I feel like Dr. Dre. Stay tuned for the next episode. In the early 2000s, I caught myself singing that on the way over here.
That's
So
right.
anyway,
We're talking about this. When I find the baskets struggle the most is when we get those really hot nights. So, and here's the interesting thing. Plants that grow in our environment up here literally shift into different gears. When it's super hot, the processes in the plant shift to keeping itself cool. It's not trying to grow.
It's
not
just trying to
it's
stay alive.
trying to stay
That's right.
alive.
it's trying to stay alive.
When we cool off at night, that plant is literally able to shift out of that gear and change its processes inside the plant and shift to, hey, let me make a flower. Hey, let me grow something. I'm not just trying to stay cool, right? When what I find for our baskets when they really struggle is when we get to those mid-August going into September where it's 80 damn degrees at night, right? The plant never gets to shift out of that hot, right? It's 100 in the day and it's 89. That's when the baskets in my house just kind of go, check, bite me, right? And it's almost, to my opinion, is when when those super hot nights, right?
Yep.
I remember Monday I was headed to CrossFit. I had a bit of
Monday
jam,
was horrific.
and it was 78 degrees. I was like, is it 5:30
81
in the
at
damn
5 o'clock.
morning?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It was Vegas hot.
It's
It was-
stupid.
really bad.
And I will say, I have never trimmed a basket or a container. I let it go.
Right?
Okay. It's into its natural state.
Yeah.
All right. But I do deadhead.
Right.
And I deadhead a lot. So once those
Pinching out
petunias
the
are done,
spent
I
blooms.
am, I'm
Nope.
We didn't
Johnny
talk-
on the
I
spot.
hate
So
deadhead.
We didn't talk
I
about
do
deadhead, but we
deadhead.
should because it's very
I do,
important.
I do deadhead, but I deadhead the things that absolutely need it.
Right.
So
Verbena, you're deadheading. You're not touching a petunia.
I do not touch petunias.
That's
I mean,
funny. I deadhead the poop out of my
I know when you said that, I was like, I don't know if Zach saw me cringe. I don't know if I visibly did it. I mentally definitely did it. I was just like, don't touch the petunia.
Coming from a guy that was only able to plant petunia. So Vegas,
Yeah.
petunia was the entire crop for that particular part of the year, right? We had like 3
it
flowers
was
grow
the
in
only
Vegas.
thing that
100%.
works.
So from this time of year to this, petunia. So that was, so you
Right.
have to pinch.
Right.
It's the
Does
only thing
zinnias work there?
for a small period of time.
What about Vinca?
Same exact thing.
Really?
Everything has a 2 or 3 month window, and you got
Be
to.
patient.
So pansies work great from November all the way to March. You know what I mean? Petunias work good from March till about August, and then they're toast.
Yeah.
So there's the higher end places in Vegas would change flowers 3 or 4 times a year in Las Vegas.
Right.
3 or so every 3 months, every 90 days, you're putting a new fresh crop in. And to be fair, it's kind of on purpose because what you put in 3 months ago is already pissed off at the weather.
Done.
It's already mad.
Back in my former life, when I was working in Southern California with Color Spot, it was a joy, excuse me, to get those orders from all the casinos and hotels 3 times a year.
That's right.
And that's what we were doing,
That's right.
and it was thousands and thousands of flats,
Yeah.
so
Lots of money.
Yeah.
Interesting how we've moved away from that. And that's the corporate culture, right? That was extravagant. But when you go someplace, Sun Valley, when you go, there's a couple resorts in Arizona that I remember when somebody spends the money and does that, it is so impressive now because there was a time when everybody did it.
Right.
You weren't special to have a few flowers out front. Now, if you have flowers in your entrance, you're kind of different because not everybody has spent that money. So now to me, it is really an elevated.
It's a capital investment.
It
and
is.
if you want color and something impressive, it's an every year investment.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a perennial garden to bloom in full color all the time. That's not how it works.
Big pops of color and big bright.
That's what annuals are for. The perfect garden is a mix of perennials and annuals.
Right.
That's it. And that's how you got to pick your trade-off. So if you're going to trim, make sure your scissors are sharp. You're doing it intelligently. And if you stay up on your deadheading, now you're having a patio party in 2 weeks. Do you deadhead the day before the party?
Deadheaded a week before you started thinking about it. It's when
Correct.
2 or 3 weeks before the
if
event.
it's 2 weeks away, get your tail out there with your glass of wine after the sun goes down and start pinching.
And it would be a good time to really give it a good pop of food.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
right then, oh my God, my party's in 2 weeks.
Right.
I'm going to pinch, I'm going to deadhead, and I'm going to give it a third more fertilizer than you. If you put a tablespoon in, usually you're going to put a tablespoon and a half in this time, right? Because you want to give it a little pop, right? And it'll flush and you'll have
pick
color.
something that's specific to a bloom and like a bloom booster. So
Yes. Which we recommend, of course. Come see our professionals in retail at the time here. And I'm not being a jerk. We have all of this fertilizer in the building, and the team can show you what you want.
Go to your DMB, go to your Ace Hardware. Like find
Problem there is it's hard to
close
find somebody to talk to. They have the material. Here you come and talk to people who know and can take you to the shelf and show you. Yay, go our retail. I'm just saying, I'm not being a jerk. Home Depot used to have helpful people. They do not any longer. Like they just don't.
If you want wood, they probably do.
It's a zit-faced 17-year-old who can maybe spell
retired
wood.
Teacher who just needs something to keep them out of the house so that they don't have to deal with their nagging wife or husband or I've met all sorts of people. God, I have been. Yeah, that's all right. We'll pick on box stores another day.
Yes. I was about to go down.
Pick on that. No, let's pick on box stores another day. We're gonna pick on somebody here very, very soon in our next episode.
Yes.
Okay, so with that,
I was a listener from the box store. You just lost me.
Yes, so true. Dave actually used to sell to box stores, and he is a box store queen over here. Totally. So we're diversified here at Moss Greenhouses, and that's why you've seen Onyx on air a couple times here today. So with that, the homework is don't be afraid to grab the scissors. Figure out your fertilization. How much time do you have? How much do you want to invest? Because that's really important. If you want to do lazy girl gardening, go get granular time release. It's
100%.
So you just walk through, spread it, and then you water, and you just do your thing. If you need something a little bit different, take the next step. Go talk to your local garden center. Find somebody who knows what they're talking about. Explain. Take a picture too. If you take a picture and go show them, hey, how can I make this look a little nicer? That's perfectly fine. We love cell phones for that. And with that, we're gonna leave you, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends. Listen to it's on where all podcasts are. My verbiage. We didn't get very much sleep last night. We'll stay tuned for the next episode. And with that, we invite you to go live life in full color because plain is very boring. Thank you very much for joining us.